It's time to go bold or go home. 20 bold predictions that I think will happen in wrestling in 2022. Hi, welcome to SCW here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section of your bold predictions for 2022. Share with a friend as well. And remember that watch time is key for SCW in 2022. Would love to hit the monetization. But first and foremost, before we get into anything in this video, I want to wish everybody that's watching this a happy new year. I hope 2022 is the year for you. I hope you're healthy, hope you're safe, and I hope everything goes well in your world in the upcoming year. Now, coming up in this video today is 20 bold predictions going to be featuring WWE, AEW, NXT, Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor. So let's not waste any time, and if you want to know straight with your favorite company, you can use the chapters option below, but make sure to stick for the whole video in my recommendation. There are some big predictions coming in this one. So let's start things off with WWE, and with the first event of the year, it's Royal Rumble season. I'm predicting that Bayley will return in the Women's Royal Rumble match and win the Women's Royal Rumble. I reckon she'll be ahead of schedule, return in this match, win it, and will go on to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38. Now, I think it's big, it's bold, it's exciting, it definitely gets people talking, and I do think that's what it would encourage Bayley to go on a bit of a babyface turn as well. I think it could be like some of the great returns of the past. Do you remember John Cena back in 2008, Edge back in 2010? I even remember actually before the Royal Rumble, I remember Triple H returning in 2002 to a big ovation on a Monday Night Raw. Something like that. I think Bayley would get that kind of reaction. People would get behind her, and I think it would really set a good bit of momentum heading towards WrestleMania if she was to go against Becky Lynch. Next prediction, and it's been the biggest talking point of 2022 so far already. We've got a new WWE champion in Brock Lesnar. I think he will be taking on Bobby Lashley. I keep hoping for it every single year. I think this will actually be the year. They've technically shared the ring already, but I predict they will have a one-on-one encounter. Hopefully at the Royal Rumble is the place that I hope that match will go down, but I do think it will take place in 2022. My next bold prediction is thinking further ahead. I'm thinking Money in the Bank, and I think this year we're going to look at the men's and the women's matches in Las Vegas. I'm predicting for the women, Liv Morgan will win the Money in the Bank, and then that way she can hopefully cash in and win the championship late in 2022. I think by that point she'll definitely be ready for that moment. And I think for the men, I think Riddle is going to pick up the Money in the Bank. I think RK Bro will break up during the year. I think that Riddle and Randy Orton will take place at WrestleMania, and I think Riddle at that point, he's been elevated so much from Randy in his time as RK Bro. I think it's done great things for him. I think he's ready for the next level. I think Money in the Bank could be just what Riddle needs to take him to the championship level come to the end of towards 2022, and maybe even the start of 2023. Next, I've got a couple of returns coming to WWE and the weekly television schedule. I think Raw Roulette will make a return. Always was really good. Spin the wheel, and we'd always get like a match stipulation going throughout the night. Maybe get a TLC match, maybe a cage match, no holds barred. Probably even a blindfold match, you know WWE what they're like, but certainly it's a bit of spice, it's a bit of excitement. It's good if you've got some weekly feuds going on as well to round those off rather than put those ones on pay-per-view, since we have Raw and SmackDown on pay-per-view each and every time. Not all feuds get to fit on, so it's good for those ones. And as well as that, I think perhaps maybe like a Cyber Sunday, Taboo Tuesday, if you remember that format, where fans get to vote the match stipulations as well, perhaps even vote an opponent, perhaps go for a championship match. Those sort of things I think will be quite key in actually increasing some ratings in weekly TV. So for me, I'd like to see both of these come and be introduced to either Raw or SmackDown throughout this calendar year. So I'm going to predict they will make a return. Next is a big prediction for my boy AJ Styles, one of my favourite wrestlers. He is the face that runs the place, and I think he's going to have one more run at the top in 2022. He's been predominantly in the tag team division over 2021 with Omos. That split has happened now. He'll probably lose to Omos in the match. He's now also doing some things, helping Grayson Waller out in NXT. We say helping out, feuding on TV, but definitely giving some experience there to him. I think though when AJ does come back as a single star, big plans are expected for him, and I think we're talking big. I think we're talking WWE Championship. One more run at the top for AJ before he retires. It needs to happen. Speaking of winning championships, I've got Sheamus to win the Intercontinental Championship. Now, it may not seem so bold when you first hear about it, but it would make Sheamus a Grand Slam champion. Sheamus is doing some fantastic work in WWE, some of the best work of his career over the last 12 months or so. So this reward is certainly just, in my opinion. I think Sheamus will become the Intercontinental Champion, perhaps in the not too distant future, but certainly throughout this calendar year. Now, spoken about returns, now this one would be a superstar return here, but it's not one you maybe would expect. It's Paige, that's right. She has been sort of wanting to come back to the ring. She's been inspired by stories of comebacks from Daniel Bryan and from Edge. I think Paige will come back. Now, this may not necessarily be a WWE prediction either. This could be just any wrestling company. We could get Saraya in AEW or Impact Wrestling. I think she will make a return to the ring in 2022. She's taken the necessary steps to want to get back in the ring and is healthy enough to do so. First off, that's what's most important, but if she can and she can fulfill that promise and fulfill that dream, it'll be a very special moment in wrestling. And for me, I really want to see her, but I was a big fan of Paige as well. So if she can come back and she wants to come back, then hopefully it does happen. I do think if it's going to happen, she's teased it already on Twitter and social media before, and it seems like 2022 could be the year. Next, I'm going to predict a top AEW star to go to WWE. Now, how many times have we seen former WWE superstars become all elite? We've seen the likes of Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, just to name a few, and more are rumoured to be happening as well. Well, for me, I'm going to predict that I'm going to say a top, but an AEW star, so a pay-per-view level star, will go to WWE. Now you can see pictured here, I've got Brian Cage because he's someone that I think would fit the mold of what WWE would look for. So I'm going to predict that he certainly could be one of them. Perhaps someone like Big Swole as well for the women's division. We'll have to wait and see how it'll be. WWE's sort of signing strategy has changed, but it has sort of been made clear in the rumor mill. If someone fits the mold of what they're after, they will go for it. I do think we will eventually see, we've seen the likes of B Priestley go over already, and some people that have been perhaps on dark, but to have sort of like a higher established name value of someone from AEW to WWE, that would be something different, will be something fun, and I think it will happen in 2022. Next, I'm going to go with Bron Breakker. Of course, he's the standout of NXT 2.0. Now, of course, many will say that he's going to become NXT champion this year. I'm going to top this, of course, because he's probably going to win it at New Year's Evil, but I predict that come October time, he is going to be called up to Raw or SmackDown in the WWE draft. There's just such raw potential with this guy, and I think he's got everything that it takes to go to the very, very top in WWE. He's just like a Steiner, throwback, this no-nonsense, intensity style superstar. Also reminds me a bit of a Goldberg if you go back to that sort of WCW run in the sort of late 90s also with the undefeated streak. I think Bron Breakker has that sort of potential, and that potential just like you see there with Goldberg, he rose to the top of superstardom. I think Breakker can do the exact same thing amongst WWE. So I think he'll be, yes, NXT champion, but I think come draft season, they're not going to waste any time. This guy's going to be pushed up to the main roster very, very quickly. Raw or SmackDown is in his future. Now, moving things over to NXT for this last prediction from WWE's side. NXT 3.0? Now, I'm not saying that NXT 2.0 is going to be completely given up on, but it's clear to see that ratings-wise that this change has not really worked so far. Now, I'm sort of open-minded with all the difference of characters and stuff like that and seeing where it can go. I think time needs to be given for it, especially if they've made this big change. But it wouldn't surprise me for WWE to hit that panic button and to sort of kind of merge things in the middle. Have these characters, yes, but also go for some of those indie stars as well. Perhaps some of the name value that people wanted to see in NXT. Bring back those sort of takeovers if you want once again. I think that they may have to resort to that if this 2.0 doesn't quite connect that they want it to long term. I think WWE will probably give it at least another 6 months to see what happens with this 2.0, but if viewership isn't increasing, people are coming away, and it isn't attracting or connecting as well as they thought it might, maybe there might be some back steps with it, and maybe they might just kind of bring in the indie stars once again, and we might sort of see a different variation once again. Maybe we'll get rid of the unicorn colours, who knows, but certainly like a 3.0. Certainly I wouldn't rule it out if it was to happen in WWE during this calendar year. Let's move things over then to AEW for a few bold predictions, shall we? You've probably seen it on the thumbnail already. Let's start off with it. It's MJF becoming AEW World Champion. Now, first off, I'd love to see him beat Hangman Adam Page for this championship. I think it'd be a great story as well, using the sort of insecurities of Hangman and use that to MJF's advantage. The natural heel that he is. He's so good on the mic, but he's proven he's great in the ring as well. Him against Darby Allin, one of my favourite matches from 2021. I just think it comes a point where potential goes so far and you need to sort of just pull the trigger and see where MJF can go with it as world champion. And I really do think he could take the company to new heights because he's despised. He's really hated by a lot of people naturally as well. And I just think as well with MJF, he's just got this thing about him where I think you could look back in 20 years and say this guy was one of the best ever, and like how great he had it so young, and how people have been doing this for 15-20 years must be so jealous of the natural charisma and heat that he can get with what he does. So for me, I think MJF as world champion in 2022 ticks a lot of boxes. It makes the most sense for me, and I think even a feud with someone like Wardlow perhaps towards the end of the year could be fun to watch as well. But definitely I will predict that MJF will become world champion in 2022. Next may seem a sort of obvious one, but they're sort of playing it very, very well, and I did predict this back in November, about at least a month or 2 months before it happened, so I'm including it in here, damn it. I feel I'm entitled to. It's of course the Elite versus the Undisputed Era, or as I like to say, the Elite versus the Undisputed Elite, because I think we're going to get this dream match, and I'm going to up the ante and connect it in with one other. So it's two predictions in one here. I think that this will be the birth of the Trios Championships. What perfect way to bring them in then into this feud, because the Undisputed Era, look, it's magic. It was what kept NXT ticking over so well for like the last few years. I mean, they were literally in every War Games going, and you look with the Elite as well, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. If you want to keep them away from the AEW World Championship and as well from the Tag Team Championships, this feud fits perfectly for it. And while Kenny Omega is not on TV, you can play back and forth with Adam Cole. Which side is he aligned with? I really like that direction as well. I think it is going to play up to a trios match, and those trios championships will be introduced, and I think it will be great for AEW. I'm really looking forward to this. Perhaps it could even lead to like Blood and Guts as well. There's so many different potentials you can do with this feud. Stadium Stampede could even be another one. I mentioned Kenny Omega there. I do think we're going to get Kenny Omega versus CM Punk in 2022. It feels like it's the big dream match, doesn't it? It's the match I wanted to see CM Punk come back for, to be honest. I'm surprised that he left it so long, but certainly I think we're building towards it. CM Punk seems to have a few more meaningful programs in recent times now in AEW. It feels like Eddie Kingston really lit a spark. Now we've got a proper program of MJF. I do think we could get that with Kenny Omega towards the end of the year. Kenny Omega could return as a babyface, as I mentioned there, potentially with the Elite versus the Undisputed Era. But hey, babyface versus babyface can still work, in my opinion. This is a match I really want to see, and I think we will get it in 2022. Inevitably, AEW will sign more talent, of course they will, but I definitely predict that Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, or Killer Kross, I think I can say once again now, will be all Elite. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I think both of them could have big futures in AEW. Another one as well, Johnny Gargano, I think will be all Elite, and I will predict that we're going to get Johnny Gargano versus Bryan Danielson. I don't think I need to say much more. That sounds like a dream match in itself. And yes, they've probably fought on the indies before. It's probably been a number of years, but to see it now, perhaps in All Elite Wrestling, I think would be very special. Mouth-watering clash. It's definitely a dream match I definitely want to see, and I think we will get it this year. And to be fair, Johnny Gargano, if you're watching, this is up to you. Bryan Danielson's already in All Elite Wrestling, so it's just up to you to sign the dotted line. Last but not least then, for AEW, I do think that the Forbidden Door will open once again with Impact Wrestling. They seemed to close the door off, didn't they, after All Out and, you know, with Bound for Glory and stuff. Impact sort of was doing their own thing, Moose becoming the world champion. We see the Good Brothers not really on AEW anymore. So we've had this sort of relationship in 2021 where it happened for a while. They've gone off to do their own things. I think that door will open again at some point during 2022, and I really hope it's the Knockouts division and the AEW Women's division. I think they can have a lot of fun with this. Deonna Purrazzo coming over to Dynamite, maybe someone like Karashida, Britt Baker. Sign me up for that. I think the Forbidden Door will open once again. As I mentioned, Impact Wrestling, yes, I predicted it last year. It didn't happen. I'm going to predict it for this year because, damn it, I want to see it back. I want to see Lockdown back into Impact Wrestling. TNA, it was an original, wasn't it? Lockdown, the Steel Cage pay-per-view, and then we had Lethal Lockdown as well. It was always so much fun. War Games has come in. We've now had Blood and Guts. It almost feels like that Impact stepped to the side with that match gimmick that they had because they were waving it proudly when other companies weren't. Bring it back. You did such great work with it, so I want to see it return to the company. Last but not least then, let's talk about Ring of Honor for the last two predictions. I do believe that ROH Ring of Honor will return as scheduled. Of course, we had the final battle and end of an era last year with Ring of Honor. Many people were shocked when all the talent were being let loose from their contracts, but I do think the company will return. I do think they'll be maybe not as strong as what they were before, but they'll be around in some format and they will be able to do those shows. It feels that the Ring of Honor World Championship being defended in Impact Wrestling, going on other shows as well with Jonathan Gresham. It feels that Gresham will remain loyal to the company in the meantime, which is great to see. Hope other talents will do the same also, even if it's like a pay by appearance kind of deal that they have going on until perhaps maybe they decide that they want to do something else, because Ring of Honor could be that sort of PWG type company. There's no reason to say why they couldn't do that. But one thing I will say about Ring of Honor, and this is the last one I'm going to say now, is that I do think somebody will buy the tape library. And that's somebody, if I had to predict right now, I think would be Tony Khan. I do think it would be All Elite Wrestling, because it would be so good for them to try and put together a streaming service. Now, I mentioned the Forbidden Door for Impact a few minutes ago. You could so do it with Ring of Honor as well, bringing over some of the top talents over to AEW, get some exposure, and also some up-and-coming talents from AEW, perhaps that are on Dark and Dark Innovation, could be doing some of those one-off appearances or a few appearances for Ring of Honor, sort of build them up to when they're ready to come back and they could be on Dynamite and Rampage. It could be something that could benefit all parties to do so. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was to go down. And like I say, with the tape library, if it was part with AEW, well then they'll be great for a streaming service. They've got now, what, 2 years worth of Dynamites. You've got quite a few Rampages, Dark and Dark Elevation that have been on YouTube. You can pull them off and put them on a streaming service. You've got pay-per-views as well. And also, when you have 20 years history of Ring of Honor all thrown there, with of course a number of those stars that are part of All Elite Wrestling were a part of Ring of Honor. You're talking your Young Bucks, you're talking your Jay Lethals, you're talking Adam Cole's, Kyle O'Reilly's, Bobby Fish's. You know, we can have people that, like Cody was there for a good couple of years. Kenny Omega came in for Super Card of Honors. And let's not forget, the first ever show, before we got All Outs, before we got Double or Nothings, it started with All In Chicago, which of course is on Ring of Honor's streaming service that they have online right now. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if it was swooped up in the tape library, it was brought over to AEW, and then that way they carry on and have that on part of their service, and Ring of Honor can sort of be that sort of, if you want, a feeder company, if you want, until they can build themselves further back up doing their own thing. So that's my bold predictions for 2022 in amongst all wrestling promotions. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. How many of them do you reckon I'm right with? Do you reckon I'm wrong with any of them? Do you reckon I've missed something? Is there something that you predict? Do you think it was bold, it's big, it will happen in 2022? Let me know in the comments below right now. Please like the video, share with a friend, subscribe as well, hit the bell for notifications, set it to all, you know, each and every time a video is released. I'm going to be keeping you busy here in January here on the channel. Definitely going to push for monetization for this channel, and I'm going to give you some great content to be wanting to check out as well. So like I say, support SCW, watch a video every day if you can. I really do appreciate it, and like I say, keep an eye as well, because more videos will always be on the way. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good one. Please like the video. As I say, make sure to leave a comment. I'll see you next time here on YouTube. Have yourselves a great day.